All right, so here we are entering the escalation phase. We're in number 2. And let's imagine on the same example that you've managed to react with kindness to that previous trigger, to that previous event. But that same afternoon, things don't go as planned, and for some reason you have to stay 2 more hours working. And by that time, you have not drank enough water, you have not been taking enough breaks, you're dehydrated, and you haven't even had a healthy meal. And by the time you get home, you only want to eat something and go to bed. But the moment you run into your home, life is happening, and things are not as you planned. So you might get a phone call, or there might be something in the presence in your home, and this person might need something from you, even when that's only connection. And perhaps you feel a trigger when you notice this. And you might take a good decision and say, I'm gonna just go to the kitchen, make something to eat now. I've had a hard day. However, for the purpose of this example, we're going to imagine that that person, whether that is on a phone call or live, follows you to the kitchen. And imagine this person said something like, "Oh, so what are we doing? Are we still going to do this or that?" And your response is, "I'm tired. I'm sorry, I can't do that today." And that person might react by something like, "Oh, but I've been waiting for you the whole day. You're always tired." And by this moment, you start to feel that anger again. And that really young emotional part in you thinks something like, "Oh, the best response is a good attack." And you turn around with fiery eyes and a high-pitched voice and you respond, "Oh yeah, and what have you been doing all day?" So this goes back and forth, and this turns into an argument. Therefore, in seconds, your body has already prepared, and hundreds of chemical changes are occurring in your body. Your amygdala has signaled the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus will release CRH hormone, which is corticoprine, to the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland signals the kidneys via ACTH, which is another hormone. And the adrenal glands in your kidneys will segregate the stress hormones we call cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. And this is just in a nutshell. And all of this will affect your neurons and your brain cells. So this is how our body is designed to respond to threat, regardless if the threat is someone we love, if it's a wild animal, or even if it's an unconscious body memory or a traumatic trigger. This is why sometimes our response can be disproportionate to an event, because regardless of the importance of the trigger, the amygdala will act out to defend us. And sometimes our amygdalas act like a false fire alarm because we're too worked up. So some of the changes that you might start to notice in your body are the increase of respiration, like just breathing shallow or rapidly, your heartbeat very fast. So from 89, I can go back to 165, or some people go into 145 beats per minute. The liver will release extra sugar supplies for extra strength that usually go to your extremities in order so that you can respond to fight, flight, or freeze. The muscles tense for action. Your voice pitch will increase. Your eyes will become quite intense. Your pupils will enlarge, and your peripheral vision will decrease. So you cannot focus on the long term because you're too focused on the enemy. Other systems like your immune system or your digestive system are shut down or go into pause. depending on how high the activation is. Your prefrontal cortex will decrease, will inhibit. So we go into a different kind of thinking, a different kind of judgment. And your limbic system might be in control, which means, it's all kind of automatic from now on. So again, if it's most likely, if it's not a traumatic trigger and you have worked on it, that you can still stop yourself and take a time in to slow down your baseline and not let this situation define your actions. But if this is not the option, then the situation can feel quite overwhelming. And this is where we go into the crisis number 3. Now, it is possible to slow down our baseline. We will talk about this on session 2, but for now, let's imagine we don't pause, but instead we enter into the crisis phase.